Do you have experience with people telling you that you're too intense? Or that you need to work on not being so upfront and straightforward? Sometimes it's called working on your how. I think it would be great to hear how you could apply this using extreme ownership. In the business world, there is a big push on diversity, which is wonderful, but often it comes with also diversifying away from intensity and male aggression, quote unquote. I'd love your thoughts.
Well, it's kind of interesting to get this question. It's kind of strange to get this question because all the time when I talk about leadership, I talk about how often do you hear me say, take the indirect approach to something? Mm-hmm. I always talk about the indirect approach because the direct approach is not jujitsu. The direct approach is beating your head and punching someone in the face. Mm-hmm. So I'm always talking about using the indirect approach. So by its very nature, indirect is not straightforward.
Right.
It's not intense.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't have people telling me I'm too intense or I'm too straightforward. Why don't I have them telling me that? Because I'm not. I'm not. And I'm not saying that I'm not intense. I'm not saying that I'm not straightforward. But I'm very, very careful not to go too far with either. This is like a fighter that's swinging too hard or being too predictable or just will stand and trade and take damage and do damage. That's the direct approach. The direct approach is I punch you in the face and you punch me in the face and we play a war of attrition. Mm-hmm. I don't want to enter into a war of attrition. Mm-hmm. I do not want to enter into a war of attrition. I want to use maneuver warfare. I want to move. I want to slip unseen into the weak areas and set my bombs and have them go off. So I just got asked this the other night by a relatively new client of mine. Are you going to get in their faces and get in the faces of the leadership and tell them straight up that they need to get their act together? And you could see that this person was very excited by that idea. And he was one of the senior leaders. And that was that. Had this idea that I was going to come in and just get in their faces and tell them how screwed up they were. And I said, no, I likely will not do that. And then I said to him, look, what if I told you that you were all screwed up and you're a failure at your job and you're a weak leader? Would you then feel like you really wanted to listen to me? Would you be open to my suggestions at that point? Do you think I'd be an efficient coach? Do you think I would even appear as an intelligent human being? If the best I could do to coach you was to tell you that you sucked as a leader and you were a failure at your job and you're screwing everything up. And obviously the answers were no, of course not. I would be a horrible coach. I would be a horrible leader myself if that's what I resorted to. And most importantly, if I want you to change, and the way I'm trying to get you to change is by being abusive and begging you to send up your defenses and not listen to me, what the hell good am I doing? Why would I do anything that's going to inhibit my goal, which my goal is to get you to change, get you to be a better leader? So if I slap you in the face with aggression or with straightforwardness that makes you defensive, how does that help me? The answer is it doesn't. Now, again, that doesn't mean that I'm never straightforward and that I'm never aggressive, but I calculate those moments. There's a reason why we sugarcoat medicine for little children. Right? Mm-hmm. There is. Why is it? So they take it. Mm-hmm. It's so they take it into their system. And it's the same thing with adults. And people say, don't sugarcoat it. Don't, just tell me how it is. They don't mean it.
Yeah.
They want it sugarcoated because they want to accept it into their body. It's just like jujitsu. You need to use jujitsu. You need to set things up. You need to manipulate to get people to do what you want them to do, especially if it has to do with them changing themselves. One of the worst ways to get someone to change is by telling them exactly how you want them to change. I mean, of course, there's situations where you have this beautiful relationship and you've built it with someone and you have this intimate trust with another human being. I don't think I have that with anybody. But there have been situations in my life where I've had, just complete, utter trust with, maybe there's 3 or 4 people that I have that with in my whole life that I can just say, listen, man, here's the deal. Don't get defensive. Here's what's going on. Here's what you need to adjust. Very few people do you have that relationship in life. So you got to use that nuance and that maneuver warfare. And it's the same thing with aggression. It's the same thing that we just read in this article. Don't yell at the Chechen people. You're not going to be able to get what you want from them. And like I said, it doesn't just apply to those people. It applies to all people. You got to bring people in and you got to manipulate them. And I know that, again, that has negative connotations, but it's what you're doing. You're trying to get someone to think a different way. That's manipulation. You can call it influence. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what you're trying to do. And the most difficult way to manipulate someone is to slap them in the face with aggression. So there's a little dichotomy here, of course, because, I always say the default mode has to be aggressive. But I don't mean necessarily overtly aggressive. It means that you're aggressively forcing things to go in your direction through every means necessary, through overt and covert and clandestine. And honestly, the preferred method of all is covert. The preferred method for me to get Echo to do something different is for Echo to never even think I had an opinion on it. Is for me just to sneak in there behind enemy lines, plant the seeds, and let them grow. And let Echo come to the conclusion that you're going to change the way you're doing something. You're going to think differently about something. That's leadership. That's real leadership. So that's what you got to work on. If somebody is telling you you're too intense and you're too aggressive, guess what? You are. You're giving away your greatest weapon. You're advertising your attack. Surprise is one of the most key components in a battle. And when you tell people aggressively and overtly what you're doing, you're giving up that element. Don't do it. I'm asking you not to be a manipulative person behind the scenes with weird plans. But that is what I'm asking you to do. That is what I'm asking you to do, because that is how you get things done. That is how you get into people's minds. That is how you lead. Not by yelling, not by being overly aggressive, not by being so intense that people don't want to listen to you, because intensity is a form of emotion, right? Mm-hmm. And the minute you come across as an emotional, intense maniac, people are questioning already your validity. This guy's too intense. Mm-hmm. Don't be that guy. Manipulate, influence, be clandestine and covert. And that is how you win.
The reason that I was kind of laughing when I was reading this question is that it kind of makes sense from someone kind of from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And the main times when me personally, where I would view you as being intense or aggressive or is like when you're just talking about something. No, you're never doing it towards anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'll never lose. I've known you since 06, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I've never seen you lose your temper, get mad. I mean, kind of at one time. It's funny. I was talking to Leif about it. How we'd never really seen you get mad, but maybe one or two times. Mm-hmm. You have this aggressive and intense persona for sure. And when you talk about things, for sure. But yeah, when you're dealing with people, it's real, like basically the way you'd want to be engaged
with another human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Who wants to have somebody get aggressive with them? The only time it works is like if you're handling a prisoner. Like literally, if I'm handling a prisoner, I'll be aggressive with them.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get command of a chaotic situation and there's another aggressor in the situation, I might have to be more aggressive than that person.
Right.
But any normal situation dealing with human beings, aggression isn't a attribute. It's a negative because all it does is make people defensive.
Yep.
Now listen, it doesn't mean that you're sitting back and you're shirking and shriveling up. Right. No. But it means that you're finding the balance with another person, and you're working with them and conversing with them to bring them along into your way of thinking.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And you know, when somebody asks me a question like this, it really signifies to me that it makes me nervous because I think to myself, I say this all the time. I mean, I say use the indirect approach. Don't, get people's defenses up. I say this all the time. And yet someone can still come back and say, people are telling me I'm being too aggressive. Like, they're not even taking ownership of the fact that they're being too aggressive. Right? It's like the other people are weak.
Yeah.
And therefore, since they're weak, they think I'm too aggressive. I can't believe how pathetic they are.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That's what's going through someone like this mind. Like, sometimes it's called working on your how. He's kind of saying, they've got a euphemism for it. And in the business world, there's a big push on diversity, but it comes with diversifying away from intensity and male aggression. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can guarantee what this guy thought I was going to say. Like, no, you got to just stay the path.
Right,
you got to, if people can't take it, you got to crush them.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's the complete wrong answer.
Yeah.
If people can't take it, it's because you are being too aggressive.
Right. Yeah, the way you're giving it is wrong.
The way you're giving it is wrong.
Yeah.
So that aggression needs to be channeled in such a way that it's being utilized to further the goal. And you know who you get aggressive with? Yourself.
Yeah.
You get aggressive with yourself. That's who I get aggressive with. You know who I'm straightforward with? I'm straightforward with myself. Mm-hmm. That's who I'm straightforward with. Mm-hmm. I'm the one guy that I'm allowed to get aggressive with, to be straightforward with, to put things in, to not sugarcoat anything. Mm-hmm. I'm allowed to do that with me. But I'm not allowed to do it with another human because it's not an effective way of leadership. Mm-hmm. It just is not.
Yeah, it's funny how that's absolutely true. And with you, what I said is absolutely true. I don't think I've ever seen you get mad at someone else. But at the same time, and I think a lot of people who may not know you good, but have experience being around you, I would say that they all feel this same way. And that is that, yeah, fucking Jocko's cool or whatever, but if he were to like lose his temper on me, I'd probably die.
Yeah, good. Good. And they're right. Like, I'm glad I'm not losing my temper on people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That wouldn't be good at all.
Yeah.
That'd be bad. That would not be good for people.
No. I don't think so either. That's that dichotomy, though, right?
That is that dichotomy.
The sense of safety, yet the sense of impending doom is there at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it does genuinely surprise people.
Yeah.
Because I look like a serial killer, I'm a big guy, whatever, and they expect that I'm going to be aggressive in implementing this, and you got to get your shit together, right? But it's just not. It's just an ineffective way of leadership. If that was leadership would be easy. It would be easy, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to yell at everyone. They're going to do what I say.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just going to yell at everyone, and then they'll do what I say. That just does not work.
Yeah, it's crazy though, because just the way you talk, a lot of the times, not all the time, but just the way, maybe it's like just how you sound. I don't know, your voice, I don't know. It's probably everything really, is you do sound intense, even though you're not being intense, you just kind of seem that way. For all these reasons, of course.
Well, it's like you said earlier, when I'm talking about something that I care about,
Right.
Yes, I am definitely going to be intense about it, especially when it's something that is impactful to me.
Yeah.
And something that means something to me. And to me, leadership does mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
And trying to help people lead
Yeah.
is an important thing to me. I enjoy it, and I like to see people succeed. So therefore, when I talk about it, sometimes I get a little bit fired up, and I get intense with what I'm saying.
That isn't scary. That just it's like indirectly scary. So it's not, scary. Okay. I'll use the word scary. It's indirectly scary, where when you do it, it's like, oh, I'm not scared of what you're doing, but you kind of can imagine. You're like, oh,
right.
What if, you're kind of like, you're like this raging hurricane that when it comes by, it turns into like a warm, gentle breeze. You know what I mean? That you kind of like.
And maybe that's probably part of the advantage.
Yeah.
Part of
I
the
think so,
advantage
yes.
is people, I said this, I think it was Tim Ferriss, I said this too, people are surprised when I can sit there and have a conversation with them, and I'm not aggressive with them, and my mind is open to what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's part of the game.
Yeah.